If you're looking for inspiration on creating a culture of innovation in your classroom or school, look no further than Christopher Tully. It's my absolute pleasure to share this interview with Chris with you via this iTunes University course. Chris spent 18 years in film and television production before he became an educator. He's currently with the Philadelphia School District as a multimedia technology instructor at Middlebucks Institute of Technology, as well as an adjunct professor. Chris is part of so many different programs doing such phenomenal work. I met him through the Apple Distinguished Educator Program, where he's not only a member, he's part of the board. Chris has won so many awards for his work in education, they're too numerous to count. But he's won back-to-back years for an Apple Distinguished Educator Program, an outstanding CTE program in Pennsylvania. Amazing guy. I think he's brilliant. I've invited him to share his thoughts not only on creating a website through WordPress, but also to talk about how he works with students and teachers. Chris speaks nationally about education, Apple products. He's created certified programs for Apple. Again, this guy's boundaries are just so wide, so full of knowledge. Listen to his voice. Listen to how he talks about education. Listen to his new website that he's created, cteduonline.com, and check it out. I'm so proud to interview him. I know you're going to pull so much out of this interview. And here's Chris Tully. All right, Chris, why would a teacher want to create a blog or a website presence?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think when you do this, the teacher needs to have something to say. And I think more importantly, as educators, we need to not only think about what we do in our building to help others, but really collaborate, at this point internationally. Most recently, we were at the Apple Distinguished Educators Institute in Ireland. It was my first exposure to an international audience and being able to speak to people who I otherwise wouldn't have time to communicate with in my own building or in my own region for that matter. So one, it's a way to communicate with others. I think, there's so much that can be taught and so much, me, myself, personally, watching you, following your Twitter feed, and being able to, maybe not even so much interact with a person on a one-to-one basis, but to get an idea of what others are doing really inspires me to want to be a better teacher. Just for instance, take Twitter for one minute. If you follow First 5 Days, that's one of those hashtags that you're going to get so much information, so much so that it's going to change the way you walk into your classroom the first day. Everything from inspirational quotes to strategies you can use on the first day of school. So when you think about what's possible when you're blogging and when you're posting what it is that you're doing, you don't know who you're going to inspire. There's an audience that you never even knew you can capture. And, that's one of the reasons why I started CTEDU Online, because there were things that were transforming in my classroom that I was even unaware of that maybe could have helped someone else, until a peer of mine actually sat in one of my classes and said, you should probably tell others that you're doing this because this is some cool stuff. Never did I ever think in my life that it would really help and inspire others to want to do other things. And now we're at a point where in my building I'm a mentor teacher and I help the new teachers. But it's interesting to watch the new teachers then take my stuff, flip it into their version, and they equally give that back to me.
Absolutely.
But see, when you're blogging and you're talking to people online, it now becomes a broader audience than just the 25 or 30 people you work with in your building.
Okay, great. So a good first step is to find some great bloggers and some great Twitter people to follow, some great educators, and try to get a sense of what's going on. So you follow some people. But you also think it's important to put your own stuff out there, even if, say, I'm a new teacher or I'm trying something new.
Absolutely, because I think as people... And think about it this way. It's a much more personalized approach to education. So when I first got into education, it was like, don't tell kids this, make sure that. And you tried to really keep your personal life, a little different than what you would keep your education life. When you were in your classroom, you were isolated by yourself. Oftentimes, you didn't want people to know what you were doing. And that's what happened when I first got into education. I'll tell you, it was really the Apple Distinguished Educators Network that really opened my eyes to say, no, you need to start telling people what you're doing. And again, it could be something minute. It could just be the way you collect assignments, but it's a cool way, and kids actually get their assignments in, and people can learn from that. So I think, yes, first thing to do, find out what people are saying. Figure out a way. Find your voice. What is it that you do best that you could share with others? And guess what? With CTEDU Online, I didn't know what my thing was. It was when I started writing articles and people were following certain things, or I would see certain bits or pieces of things that I was doing being tweeted more than others, I realized that's where the need is.
Sure.
So then maybe that's something I should focus on.
Okay. Well, straight up, Chris, tell me. A teacher comes to me and says, okay, that's great. I found a few people to follow online. I really like what they're putting out. I don't have the time. I don't have the know-how to do that sort of thing. I'm overwhelmed with all the papers I've got now. How am I expected to do this?
I guess the first thing to do is, if you're walking into school at 7 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 3 o'clock and considering your day over, maybe you need a different profession. I don't see this as a 9 to 5 or a 7 to 3, whatever you want to call it. This is something, I never had a summer off since I've been an educator. It's something that it's a continuous growth pattern for me. I never think what I did last year is going to work. Do you want to teach for 20 years, or do you want to teach the same thing? I got to get this right. Do you want to teach for 20 years, or do you want to teach one time for 20 years? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you teach for 20 years? Did I mess that up?
No.
There is a phrase that's really good. Well, my principal says it to me all the time. It's really, really good. I think I jacked up. But I think the key point is, what does it take for me while I'm sitting there, maybe after dinner or something, to just check out a couple articles, to read what people are doing? I find value in that. I am what you consider a lifelong learner. I never believe I will ever stop learning what it's going to take to be a great teacher. Maybe that's something to shoot for too. First thing, what do you consider to be a great teacher?
Right.
What is success in your eyes? If it's showing up to work, having kids not bother you all day, not having parents complain, and you consider that a great teacher, that's fine. I show up every day in hopes to inspire my students to be great. And the only way I could do that is to do it for myself and to model what it is that I want my students to do. There's so much information, so much knowledge out there, and it's just unfortunate those people who aren't doing it because they're missing a lot of information.
Sure. What about the point that someone might make? It's too challenging. There's too much technology involved. Do you think blogging and things like this is becoming easier? Is it something that anybody can get a handle on?
I think anybody can get a handle on. You have things, for instance, like WordPress. I happen to use CTED Online. I use a thing called Joomla. In fact, I didn't think about it. I'm currently working on a new platform in hopes to help teachers with Twitter, with Facebook, and a bunch of different things. That I'll definitely check back with you when we have this thing wrapped up.
Sounds good.
But I'm trying a new platform in hopes to make using Twitter, Facebook, and all these things a little bit easier. The concern becomes if you don't use it in your natural life. So, for instance, if a teacher is not on Facebook and they're not using it to communicate with peers or their family even, it is a difficult buy. I mean, it really is. When people think of what Facebook is, they think it's, I'm going to post that I'm going to the mall tonight. And yes, that has its place for teenagers. But, again, you need to find that audience. I got to revert back to the Apple Distinguished Educators community. I mean, I would have never been able to find someone like yourself and be able to be inspired by you and watch the things that you do if it wasn't for coming together in that community. So I guess the one thing is they need to be exposed to teachers who are using it. This is where professional development comes in. This is something where what you learn when you go to an ISTE conference or, our local Pete and C or a PAC Tech. You need to talk to these people, find these people, and really start to follow them and say, what is it that they're doing? Who are they following? And then it becomes easier. I think when you start big and you're like, this is what I want to do, I want to do all this, I think it's too much to tackle.
Sure.
Get on Twitter, start an account, follow you, for instance. See who's following you. Figure out what hashtags that you're actually sending out there, and then start small. I can tell you, I remember the first time I went on the Twitter, I saw no purpose. I really didn't.
Same.
Yeah, and I was one of those guys who was like, I don't need to tell people that I'm having fun at the movie theater. It's just not something I care to share,
Right.
And it was actually at one of the institutes when we were in Phoenix, and actually no, I'm sorry, it was when we were in Full Sail. And someone had said, yeah, but watch what I could do. And they showed me how all these teachers were posting articles on this one hashtag. It's amazing. I was sold.
And not only that, I think it's great, even if you attend a conference and you're trying to, as a back channel, you're looking at what other people are tweeting. I always find things that I didn't hear or, what other people emphasize. It's great. Chris, you're one of the most passionate guys I've ever met. You always make me want to be even a better educator than I can because you're so passionate. I know some people are going to see this video and they're going to buy into Chris Tully, and they're going to say, yeah, I need to do this. What are some things they should consider putting on their site if they decide to create one? So they get their name or whatever like that. What are some things they can provide for their students or fellow staff members or school? Just give us some insight to that, because you have a lot of great experience.
Yeah, well, like I said, the first thing is everybody has a voice. I will tell you again, I never thought I had anything to say, so that's why I never had a blog. I happen to be passionate about career and technical education, and I realized there wasn't much being said about it. So the first thing is find your niche. My niche was career and technical education. I actually started my site primarily to get career and technical education teachers to start communicating. So let's say you're a science teacher. Well, if you find that you're doing something innovative, or you want to start a discussion with others about, innovative uses of technology in your science class, that would be your niche. So the first thing is find your thing.
Absolutely.
Find people who are doing that thing, or who are tweeting about that thing, or who are already blogging. And maybe, actually, I just thought about this. A good way to start blogging is to find someone else's blogs and add comments. Start a discussion. Yeah, right? I mean, think about it. All you want to do is start communicating with people.
Right. That's excellent. So, share some. What are some sites that, I'm new to this. What are some sites I should be hitting and reading about? I like your site. I know TeacherCast is a great site that I follow. Yeah. I follow a lot of the Apple Distinguished Educators through their hashtags and things. Are there any sites that you see yourself frequenting quite a bit?
Yeah. Well, one app. Let me change the subject for 1 second.
Okay.
If you go to Zeit, are you familiar with the app Zeit?
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you this. I know it from the backside. I was not exposed to Zeit until one of my articles got on Zeit.
Okay.
And it really got a lot of exposure there, which means there's a lot of educators there. And I will tell you, when I got on there, it was like a proud moment. When the only stuff that gets on there is the good stuff.
Okay.
So I would get the app Zeit if you have an iOS device. That would be the first thing. TeacherCast is another great resource. What I like about TeacherCast primarily is that it really shares everything, and there's so many voices on that site.
There is.
So, for instance, if you come to CTED online, obviously you're hearing my voice, and sometimes maybe that's good, but maybe you want to hear from others. So when you go to a site like TeacherCast, and they actually have valuable resources from teachers all over the place, obviously that makes it a good resource for you to start. You got Angela Myers on there. You have myself.
Right.
If I remember correctly, I think some other Apple Distinguished Educators have some stuff posted on there, right? I think so. You have some. Right?
Yeah. It's a great site, and you're right. It has a little bit something different for everybody. It's not just there's podcasts, there's videos, there's app reviews. Jeff Bradbury does a great job with that. I'm really proud of him.
Absolutely does a great job. Really good guy.
Yeah.
And I think also, again, I got to go back to Twitter, though. A great place to start is Twitter, when you could follow really good hashtags. Okay, so let's say you're innovative and you like Apple computers. ADEDU is the best hashtag to follow right now, because you're getting, that's educators internationally who are using that hashtag. I mentioned First 5 Days for anybody who wants to learn. If you're a new teacher, NT Chat, just general education, Ed Chat, EDU Chat.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I'll just give you a little shameless plug here. I have an actual article on my website. If you do a search for Twitter, how to use Twitter, it shows you specific hashtags. I don't remember the resource where I initially got it from, but if you do a Google search for education hashtags, there are a million education hashtags to follow, but I would definitely say EdChat, EDU Chat. New teachers are good for new teachers. First 5 Days. I was trying to think of the main other ones. Education, just the word education is another good one.
Yeah, those are great tips. I guess when it comes to technology, some older teachers always feel warned. Is there anything that we should watch out for? Is there anything to be careful of? Any dangers like that? Or should we not worry about that sort of thing? I invited you on this.